Hello to all Cinemaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. Akira Tendo. Today is the happiest day of his life because he was officially accepted into the photography company Mastershot. He's thrilled because he finally got a job with a very good salary and a work environment that suits him perfectly. He arrives at the company, introduces himself to his colleagues, and then thanks the company's manager. The manager informs him that the assistant manager, Suji, will be his direct supervisor. After that, the manager leaves. Tendo was extremely happy, and during that time he met his colleague at work, which made him even happier because he fell in love with her at first sight. His colleague felt regret after a little while. A small party was held for him to celebrate his first day at the company, and he thought he was truly in his dream job. But then he was surprised when manager Kosugi told him that they've celebrated and let them get back to work. He returned to the company and started working again, even though it got dark early. He thought the company might be short on workers that day, so it seemed fine. But he kept working for a long time, doing very heavy tasks until morning, and finally, he was dismissed and went to sleep. After a while, he woke up and went back to work. From then on, manager Suji started giving him a lot more work, maybe even more than all his colleagues. This was all because he never said no, or enough. So he was really working an insane amount, and he began to feel that the company was exploiting him, and that this was the worst job he had ever had in his entire life. One day, he sat down with his friend Kenichiro to talk and relax a little. They had been friends since childhood, but the stress from Tendo's job led to a fight between them, and they completely drifted apart, ending their friendship for good. The only thing that kept him going at work was Italy, someone he liked to watch from afar, even though he always felt she wasn't happy. We will find out why later on. As Tendo continued with his job at the company, every day manager Suji would get angrier with him, treating him more cruelly and making him work even more. Tendo was stuck in this miserable cycle of work, but couldn't leave out a fear that he wouldn't find a better job or even have enough to eat. Due to his exhaustion and not knowing what to do, he wished for some kind of miracle to happen, something that would stop him from having to go back to work again. Tendo finally goes home after a long workday and sleeps. The next morning, he wakes up feeling very sad, as usual, because he has to go to work. And that's when the disaster begins. He starts climbing the building quickly, but the bigger problem is that all the people around him have turned into zombies and everyone is chasing him. He runs as if he's late for work. Luckily, he escapes the zombies on the rooftop, and then he looks up to see a plane on fire falling from the sky. The buildings around him are crumbling, and people in the streets are dying due to the sudden outbreak of the zombie virus. Tendo finally realizes that he doesn't have to go to work anymore. Despite the sorrow surrounding him, he feels incredibly happy, like he's flying with joy. After a moment, he calms down and decides to check on Otori to see how she's doing. She gives him her address and asks him to come to her right away. Excited, Tendo climbs down the pipes from the rooftop, gets on his bike, and rides through the chaos, zombies, and destruction all around him. After a while, he reaches her building, goes up to her apartment, and when he calls out, she lets him in. She's hiding and is happy that he came because there's a zombie in her house. That zombie turns out to be the company's manager. Tendo then realizes that Otori and the manager had secretly been married, which explains why she was always unhappy. Together, they quickly fight the manager until he falls, and Otori finishes him off, killing him. They celebrate, but suddenly, Otori collapses. It turns out she had been bitten by the zombie manager before he died, and now she's gonna turn into a zombie. Just as expected, she transforms into a zombie and attacks Tendo. Heartbroken, Tendo cries because he truly loved her, but he manages to hold himself together, escapes, and returns to his apartment through the same pipes. After sitting for a while, he realizes that things aren't as great as he had thought because people are dying in horrible ways. He understands that he too could die at any moment. So he decides to make a list of at least 100 things he wants to do before he turns into a zombie. He writes down many things like buying anything he wants from the supermarket without worrying about money or setting off fireworks without caring about the cost or anything else. He writes down many more things in this same carefree spirit. Once he finishes writing, Tendo goes to sleep, ready to start fulfilling his list the next day. The next day, Tendo woke up and started executing his plan. First, he cleaned his entire room, something he hadn't been able to do for a long time due to the overwhelming work pressure. After that, he went out into the street to achieve his dreams. He went to the supermarket and started buying all the food he craved without worrying about money. Then, he dyed his hair the way he wanted, as he hadn't been satisfied with how it looked before. After that, he drew a giant picture of himself on the company's wall. Of course, he had always wanted to play with big fireworks, and just as he was about to set them off, a group of zombies started chasing him. He managed to escape, and fortunately, one of his dreams came true suddenly. He found a motorcycle, which he had always dreamed of riding. He fired off all the fireworks he had, feeling overjoyed, and that's how the day ended well. The next day, He went up to the rooftop again and grilled a delicious steak. Just as he was about to enjoy his meal, he realized he didn't have any salt. He got upset, but quickly decided that he won't eat until he gets some salt. So he went out to get salt and pepper from a store, but suddenly, a girl appeared before him in the store. Her name was Shizuka Mikazuki. Tendo was immediately impressed by her, but she didn't seem to care much. At one point, a man was running from zombies, and Shizuka didn't care. So Tendo went to help him and blew up the zombie chasing him. Shizuka quickly finished off the zombie with great skill and walked away without even talking to Tendo. She thought helping someone during the apocalypse was foolish and dangerous. After that incident, Tendo returned to his apartment, where he happened to see a picture of himself with his old friend Kenichiro from back in the day. This made him feel like he needed to check on him, so he called Kenichiro and was relieved to find out he was still alive. However, Kenichiro told him he was in serious trouble, trapped in a hotel full of zombies and unable to leave his room. Tendo found out the name of the hotel and promised to come immediately. Tendo got on his motorcycle and rushed to Kenichiro's rescue, encountering zombies along the way. He skillfully evaded them, jumping over cars and shaking zombies off his motorcycle. Miraculously, he made it through all the dangers and finally reached the hotel. The place was overrun with zombies, but Tendo had come prepared. He threw his headphones far away, playing music to distract the zombies, and it worked. The zombies were drawn to the sound, allowing Tendo to run through them and avoid anyone standing in his way. He started recalling his college days playing American football. Tendo was incredibly agile, easily dodging the zombies and making it to Kenichiro's room. The two friends were overjoyed to see each other again. Just as they were about to express how much they had missed each other, another horde of zombies appeared. They quickly ran to the roof and locked the door behind them, using a ladder to escape down the pipes. Afterward, Kenichiro made a lot of food for Tendo as a way to show his gratitude, and they both talked and apologized for the many fights they'd had in the past. Kenichiro then noticed Tendo's list of things he wanted to do before turning into a zombie, and really liked the idea, encouraging him to continue with it. Tendo said that he wants to become a superhero and protect weak people from the zombies. Kenichiro told him that wasn't possible because they were in the only place protected from zombies. Still, they were happy to be safe. As they continued talking, they met two former flight attendants and a bus driver who had survived. Kenichiro started chatting with the flight attendants, while Tendo spent more time with Shizuka. She still believed Tendo was foolish for helping people, telling him it was too dangerous to help anyone but yourself in these times. As they argued, the bus driver suddenly transformed into a zombie and attacked because he had been bitten earlier. The zombie bus driver went after Kenichiro and the flight attendants. Shizuka wanted to run away, but Tendo refused to leave his friend behind. He rushed to save Kenichiro just in time, while the flight attendants were bitten and turned into zombies. Tendo and Kenichiro narrowly escaped, but Shizuka was in trouble. Tendo couldn't leave her behind either, so he fought off the zombies, grabbed Shizuka, and they escaped together. Kenichiro followed them. The group eventually found a working car and decided to leave the hotel. Shizuka still thought they were all fools for rescuing her instead of focusing on themselves, which angered Kenichiro. But Tendo, instead of getting upset, handed her a drink and tried to make her laugh to calm her down. Over time, she started to open up to them more. On their journey to the Heavenly Lagoon, they made several stops to have fun. Once, they stopped to eat a hot dog. Another time, they did some yoga near a river. And another time, they went to a hot spring to relax. Over time, Tendo and Shizuka grew closer and even fell in love. Finally, they were on their way to the Heavenly Lagoon when they accidentally hit some nails on the road, causing the car to veer off course. Tendo was knocked unconscious. A little later, Tendo woke up to find himself in front of his old boss, Gonzo Kosugi. Naturally, Tendo was terrified and thought he was in a nightmare. But this wasn't a nightmare, it was real. Kosugi, after waking him up, took him on a tour of the place and explained that when Tendo passed out, they brought his friends here and put him in the Heavenly Lagoon. They also told him that he was now the leader of this place. In the past, the company had sent him to photograph this place right when the end of the world happened. At that time, he refused to leave the place and all the employees who were with him, and the place became his. He surrounded it with walls and kept zombies outside the walls to prevent anyone from entering. A large number of people came to him, all seeking protection, food, and water, and many stayed in the place because they had nowhere else to go. Tendo thought that after all these years, Kosugi would have changed at least a little, but Kosugi hadn't changed at all. In fact, with great arrogance, Kosugi informed Tendo that he would be working for him again, and that everyone here worked for him. Tendo was given the choice to either work for Kosugi against his will and live, or be kicked out of the place and live alone without his friends. Reluctantly, he agreed to work for Kosugi again, just as he had in the past. Zoka and Kensei saw him struggling the most in this place, but they didn't know how to help him. However, Shizuka came to him with their car and told him that he needed to fix it and that they had to escape from here, as this wasn't a life worth living. Suddenly, the walls of the place were breached by zombies, and within seconds, chaos ensued. The zombies spread everywhere in the entire building. Worse, a group of zombies headed to the shark tank and killed everyone there, and even fell into the tank where they were eaten by the shark. In the meantime, Shizuka told Tendo that they could now escape and wouldn't have to live as slaves anymore. Unfortunately, her words had a strong effect on Tendo, so much so that he refused and went back into the building to be with the residents. In that moment, Shizuka was sad for Tendo, so she took his list and went inside. When she reached him, she reminded him of how they used to enjoy their time before they came here, and how happy they were. Afterward, she showed him his list so he could remember. At that moment, Tendo realized that before the end of the world, he was just a slave to the world. Now that the world had ended, he was finally free and able to do whatever he wanted. He told Kosuji that he was independent now and would be leaving. Kosuji got extremely angry and was about to punish Tendo, but just then, the zombies reached them, and chaos erupted everywhere. Kosuji and his men fought off the zombies, and Tendo began trying to help as many people as possible. Afterward, he took everyone he could save to the shark tank. They faced Felix there, and a fight nearly broke out with him. But at that moment, the giant zombie shark jumped out of the tank and appeared before everyone. The shark had become a zombie, so naturally it turned into a zombie shark. The issue here was that people weren't initially scared of the shark because, after all, it was just a shark. How could it chase after them? But suddenly, all the zombies the shark had eaten earlier started coming out of its stomach and began running. As a result, the shark itself gained the ability to run and started chasing everyone. At that moment, Tendo gathered everyone and ran to a room for safety. As for the shark, there didn't seem to be any solution until Kensho gave Tendo some batteries and told him to throw them to Tendo and use them with the power of the suit he had. Tendo struck the shark on the nose, which caused its brain to die immediately. And so, Tendo quickly threw the batteries and he hit the shark, killing it instantly. And so, the shark was finally dealt with. Everything ended well, despite the heavy losses. But thankfully, after a while, all the people who were still alive gathered all the remaining resources from the place and decided to leave for good. At that moment, Kosuji appeared again, and it turned out that he had survived. He started shouting at everyone, trying to stop them from leaving, but no one paid him any attention. They left him behind and moved on. As for Kosuji, he came to Tendo and his friends, pleading with them not to abandon him, but they didn't agree, so he ended up alone in the destroyed place. Meanwhile, they decided that they would continue living their lives and make a future for themselves, even if the end of the world lasted forever. The movie ends. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button to get more new videos. See ya!